Welcome to the Evolvepreneur AI Advantage Show, and I'm your host, Richard Wray. My mission is to help entrepreneurs understand AI and use it to their advantage. Join me today where we dig deep with our guest and get you the best concepts and strategies. Today's special guest is Rg Enzon. Rejections didn't define RG, resilience did. From Navy struggles to tech passion, RG is now the force behind thriving local businesses. Today, we're talking about her journey from life struggles to tech hustle. RG, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Richard.
Well, RG, it's really great to have you here. The question I always ask my guests when we first start is, where in the world are you?
I'm actually in San Diego, California.
Beautiful part of the world. Beautiful part. And isn't that where Ron Burgundy was set? The whole Anchorman thing?
I'm not, I'm not very sure. I'm not good with history.
I have to be careful because I can quite easily follow an auto cue and make mistakes just like he did on the show. Anyway, so let's get into it. So, RG, tell us about yourself. You sounds like you had a bit of a history, ex-Navy, and now you're out and about and some struggles. So, give us a little bit of your past.
So basically, like my journey from like before the tech and all the business stuff started was like I was born in the Philippines, born and raised there.
Hmm.
And then my family, my mom and dad decided to bring me and my sibling to the United States. I was already 17 years of age at this point. And during that time, I was still in college, doing, like working on my college degree.
Hmm.
And I remember during that time, it was like a very rough time because like I didn't have any proper direction. All I
Hmm.
knew was that I just wanted to finish college, but also I was young and dumb, I guess, like I was too focused on partying and all that stuff. But all I know is like at the back of my head, I'm very passionate about tech.
Hmm.
And you know, I kind of lost my sense of direction when we migrated to the US simply because like I've always been in the Philippines and I was
A
already
very, very different setup, a
yes,
very different
very very
environment.
different culture and everything.
Hmm.
Um and I just remember back then I was already incoming third year in college. And then I was applying for schools in the US because I was like, like, hey, this is gonna be where I'm gonna be living the rest of my life. And and I remember I was 17 at that point, and the colleges in the United States didn't want to accept me because like like education system is different.
Hmm.
Basically they're saying, hey, that's awesome that you're incoming third year in college at 17 years old. Um, but you're too young, you gotta start back to the first year.
Oh,
So
that must have been heartbreaking.
yep, very. Because, like at that point, like I just wanted to finish and then, move on to like a career in tech and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Didn't happen because they wanted me to essentially go back. Um, so I kind of like had like a really long back and forth with my parents, basically wanting them to say yes to having me go back to the Philippines just to kind of like finish my degree there. Um, and then eventually, after a couple of months, they finally said yes. And then I went back to the Philippines, finished my degree, and then went back.
And
I
so,
was
what was your
there for
degree? What was your degree in?
IT, information
It was
technology.
so you were set. You were like you were all about the technology, and
Yes,
you'd done a
yeah,
decent degree. You were good to go.
yep. And like with Filipino mothers, like they always tell you nursing. So that was like huge debate. It was like you should do nursing. And I was like, I'm not passionate with that. Um, but between me and my sister, she finally got one nurse, so it's okay. She won 50% of the battle right there.
So is
But
your family quite traditional? Yeah.
yeah, I would say so. Yeah, like they're all about because in the Philippine culture, it's all about you have to have a degree, otherwise you're not going forward with life. Kind of
Hmm.
like just how I was raised. Um, But then when we moved to the US, you literally see like business owners and like, like people who's like making big money. Like a lot of their source is not even about having a degree. They just have the
Hmm.
grit and determination to be successful.
So you were actually fighting against decades of the kind of I don't want to use the word indoctrination, but I will. But your parents had grown up. They'd been told, "Hey, you
Yes.
got to get a degree." They'd imbued it on you and your sister, and you were doing something a little different.
Yeah. 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 So, like, because that's what society tells you
Hmm.
to do.
Hmm.
Like, that's probably what my grandma and like the grandma and
Yeah.
my grandma was taught to do and all that stuff. But yeah, like, so anyway, finished the degree, went back to the US. And then at that point, I was like, all right, well, what now?
Hmm.
At this point, I didn't have my citizenship right away. So I still had like the green card is what it's called.
Hmm.
Um, Basically, you're a permanent resident, not exactly a citizen yet. Um, and then during that time, your days go back to like day zero in like your
Hmm.
migration status because like I was gone in the country for such a long time because I was studying in the Philippines.
So
So I was like,
did you
well,
have any family connections to America prior to this?
we did, but it was more of like my dad's job that like
Mhm.
got us here more than like the family side. But the family side
Okay.
helped with like, starting here because like I remember and I was just finding this out probably like a year or so ago. But my mom told me when we came here, we didn't have a lot of money. Um
Mhm.
Like I think she only had like $3,000 to our name with like a family
Wow.
of four. I was like, how like what was your plan if it failed? And then
Wow.
yeah, that was
Not
that
easy.
was right. And yeah, so yeah, going back, I was like, well, what now? Because like day zero for like getting the citizenship,
Mhm.
which is obviously not favorable because you want to get the citizenship right away
As you can.
in
Yeah.
order. Yeah, because like a lot of like jobs, like this is like back in like 2010, 2012, something like
Mhm.
that. Like back then, like a lot of jobs were like you had to have a citizenship degree plus kind like not really like required for like security clearance, but they would prefer for you to get a security clearance. For like IT related stuff back then.
Ah, right. So basically making sure you weren't a spy.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
But so I was like, damn, so I can't get the citizenship side. I have the degree side, but I also can't get the security clearance side because if you don't have the citizenship, you
Mhm.
can't get the clearance. Whatever.
So the
So
struggles were already there. You have so
yeah,
many things against you.
right.
It sounds like, you're already a very tough individual as a result of these things, let alone anything else that happens.
I would hope so, right? And then so I was like, well, what is the fastest and best way for me to get it, get my citizenship, but also I don't want to waste my life, like working on like random jobs. I want to build like a career out of something. So eventually I joined the Navy. And then, like in the Navy, if you're in the military, they ask you to denounce your actual country's citizenship because
Mhm.
they want you to be, like loyal to the military because
Which
you're
makes
working
sense
for
because you're
you
defending
know,
the country.
right. So essentially, I did that, and then a couple months later, I finally got my citizenship, and then they started the process of like getting my security clearance, and then like during that time, everywhere you go in a Navy officer enlisted side, you always start at the bottom, right?
Mhm.
So kind of like work my way up there, and then like I initially enlisted for like 4 years, and then found out I was like, oh, this is too easy, compared to like maybe I don't know, like because I didn't really have like a real job per se. It was more of like entrepreneurship, like I remember like my first gig even in the US was like literally to build somebody's website. It wasn't like, like being like sheer to for like McDonald's or something, kind of like the usual path. It was more of like it was like yeah, it was like more of a barter too because it was like I didn't have a computer when I got to the US, but I knew how to make websites. So I was like, well, if you get me a computer, I'll build you a website. So that's how I started, and then doing just like side hustles.
So you
But
already had that entrepreneurial spirit in you.
right, yeah.
And did that come just naturally? Was it something that you got from your parents, or was it maybe from the Filipino culture that you'd grown up? Do you think it came from that?
I want to say it came from like my grandma and also my mom because I remember my grandma. She used to have like just a little convenience store, not like
Mhm.
not super big. But I remember she owned lands, and then like it would make her a little bit of profit. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, that's so cool, because it's not like she needed like the income from this little convenience store. It was
Mhm.
more of like the real estate that was making her some money. And don't get me wrong, it's Philippine peso, so it's not a lot, but it's a good amount, I guess.
But
I
it's
can
all
live.
relative to where you are in the world.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my mom, she had like this government job in the Philippines, but she has like this side hustle where she would like sell fashion stuff like bags, shoes, and all that
Mhm.
stuff. And then she built out kind of like her own sales army. It's not like MLM or like pyramid or whatever. It was like, like if
Did
somebody under her makes money, she gets a little bit of commission. They still keep like the majority of it.
mhm.
And then, it's just kind of like your sales downline. I was
But
like,
she'd
oh
build a
wow,
sales industry, she'd build a
right.
network, yeah?
Yeah. And then I was like, oh damn, that's so cool. Cause like, because she reached the point where she was making more money doing that side hustle instead of working for the Philippine government. So I
Yeah.
was like, I want to do that.
Ah, so now I can see where this is all coming from. So tell us then, you're out in the US, you were in the Navy, you chose to leave the Navy,
I'm
and
I, I'm still in.
are you
I'm
still in the
still
Navy as
finishing.
well? You're still
Yeah,
there? Oh,
yeah,
wow, that's amazing.
yeah.
So how is it then that you're using AI, you're both in the Navy and helping small businesses? Because that's really amazing that you can do all those 3 things at the same time.
Thank you. I mean, it's a struggle. Don't get me wrong, because like when you're out in the ocean, you don't have
Mhm,
phone service, you don't have computer service, so you have to like really think of like ways and like how can this side hustle that I want to build run still without me, and then that's where automations comes in and all that stuff. But also, like with the introduction of AI, especially Chat GPT
mhm,
and all that stuff, it just makes your workflow so much easier
mhm.
to get with instead of like you doing everything from scratch.
So give us
Um,
some examples of how you're doing this, because as you say, you're in a situation where you can be out in the middle of nowhere on the water, sometimes probably not able to even say where in the world you are for a variety
yeah.
of reasons. And maybe you've got a client, one of the small businesses that you're helping, saying, I really need some help. I need to make sure things are working out. What happens? How do you do this?
So okay, so I'll give you an example, and this is kind of like our own business.
Mhm.
So for example, like this dog boarding business that we have, we scaled it from zero to we're projecting literally like by the end of the year, it's gonna reach six figures, right?
So
And
dog boarding, did you say?
yes, dog boarding.
As in kennels, as in you people take along their dogs when they're going on vacation, that sort of stuff, yeah?
Yep, yep. They're actually here at home right now. They're just very quiet because they're small puppies.
My wife has a similar business. So this,
Oh,
yes.
awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. But kids, you said, or
No, no,
dogs?
no. It is literally dogs.
Oh, okay, good stuff.
So,
So
so
yeah,
tell us more about this business.
so like we started this just like out of curiosity, because we were going to Disneyland a couple of months back, and we needed like a dog sitter for a day
Mhm,
because like we didn't want to take our dog to Disneyland and walk a lot of steps right there. So we found one nearby. And then after we got home, I was telling my wife, I was like, why don't we try to do this business? And then she was still working at this time for like another company, and then she was like, "Are you sure?" Like it was more of like how we're gonna do that, because like
mhm.
she doesn't have the experience of like running a business essentially. But I was like, no, 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 it's gonna work, blah 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 blah, like, and then we was initially like started it, and then getting our first clients, it was more of like like actually getting your foot in the door, and then
Mhm,
getting clients, and then like as we were scaling up, that was kind of like where the hard part came in, because like now you got to take care of your social media. Then
mhm.
with that, she doesn't like the idea of like creating captions for like Instagram, Facebook, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, how can I help her? Like, and I didn't like, like I was doing all of her captions for like social media, but I was like, let me try to use AI. right?
Mhm.
And then AI is like very smart. Like you tell it how you exactly want stuff to get done, and it gives you the results that you expected. Obviously, like if you have the good great prompts, it's gonna give you great results.
So how do
So
you go about how do you go about building those great prompts? Because one of the challenges that I've seen with people is that prompts are initially very easy to write, but then to
right.
fine tune them when you're really getting what you want out of them can be a little challenging at times. How do you go about doing this?
So for me, I try to picture it as if I'm talking to somebody that's working for me.
Hmm.
Like if I tell, so let's say if you own a McDonald's chain and you want a McDonald's burger, then wouldn't you have SOPs, right? Like
Right.
you would probably have like pictures, for example. It's
Yeah.
like bread, lettuce, tomato, cheese, and all that stuff. So when for example, like for our prompts, like before I used to say, hey, create like 365 days worth of captions. But instead of that, what I did was like I gave it an avatar. So for
Mhm.
example, I say you are I don't know, like a 20-year-old woman and you own a dog boarding business. So you're basically telling it to act like a 20-year-old
Mhm.
and a business owner. And then I say a 20-year-old woman with a dog boarding business. This is you have a warm, bubbly, witty, um, funny personality.
Yeah.
So you give it, like you give it like the
So
emotions
you're
that you want.
creating a character, you're creating a persona that the
Exactly.
public will interact with.
Yes. And then you tell it, I want the captions to have emojis.
Mhm.
And then I want the words that you're gonna use to be less theatrical, meaning because like when AI spits out stuff, it's more very robotic unless you tell it to. So these are like the keywords that really work for me, like sound less theatrical,
Mhm.
humanized, and relatable. If you give the AI like those three keywords, it starts acting more human. Like it
And
starts sounding more humanized.
and do you embed that just in the prompt, or do you put that into the common instructions section that's available now in ChatGPT?
I just use the prompt.
Mhm.
I don't really use the like that little section. And I don't know. Are you familiar with I think it's AIPRM?
No, please tell us more about it.
Okay. But essentially, like, so in before, that's how I would build up my prompts. Like I would put it on Notepad,
Mhm.
and then like I would test it. Put a Notepad, improve it, test it. But essentially, what AIPRM does is that, let's say you have this big ass prompt, right?
Mhm.
Because like I have a prompt for like creating a business and marketing plan. It's a 20-step prompt, for example. Obviously, you're not gonna type that all the time with
Every time
ChatGPT.
over and over again, no.
Exactly. So AI, and I found this tool, but basically, AIPRN.com. Basically, it's a prompt marketplace, but you can also put in your own prompt.
Mhm.
So it's a Chrome extension, and then it loads on your Chat GPT OpenAI browser thingy, and then you select the prompt that you want. They have public prompts, and then basically it's gonna run the prompt that you basically choose from the public prompt or your own one. So for example, for like that social media caption, I tell it I want you to create 365 words. Because why? Because I want to plan a year's worth of content. Because I don't want to keep going back every day, right? And then I also ask it for like a mid journey prompt. This way it can
Yes.
generate, like the pictures if I don't have any. And then I tell it to do a keyword research. It's related to like dogs, for example. And then I wanted to do it in like a monthly basis.
So it
So
sounds to me like you're actually creating almost personas, like an army of people to work for you, doing
exactly
different jobs, but
right.
they're all within
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Yeah. Yeah. So like the more refined you are with your prompts, that's how I like personally, that's how I think it's gonna give you great results. Because I don't know if my prompt is here, but this is something I can share with your audience if because I think
Happy to put it into the show
yeah,
notes afterwards, no problem.
yeah, and yeah, I'll share it with you as well. But basically, with this, like, there's prompts here. This literally like how you can create a blog that's like with keyword research,
Mhm.
like introduction, SEO tags, and all that stuff. Because like if you just tell AI, hey, create a blog regarding this, it's not gonna be as well refined compared to like if your prompt actually has a lot of like details.
So it sounds that not only are you uh, using AI to create all this, content to help your business, but you're just doing it so fast and so easily that you can actually focus on the stuff that you really want to do, and that might be that
Right.
it's a time when you've got to look after those dogs, or the time when you want to meet the people and do the meet and greet. When it
Yeah.
comes to that side of the business, and everything
Yeah.
else, it's just going out there. Maybe even that if somebody isn't great at writing,
Yeah.
their written skills aren't particularly fantastic, or the ability to create some art, like you say, you did some work with Midjourney, and now, of course, within ChatGPT, we've got DALI 3, which is
Exactly.
integrated. So it can all come together
Yeah.
and enable the individual to
Yeah.
essentially an army.
Yeah. And if you want a better result, just use ChatGPT Plus, and like the prompt will even be more useful because I noticed that GPT-4 compared to GPT 3.5 is more refined and like
Hmm.
it's more smarter. So
Definitely.
basically that's what I do with like AI stuff. Like for example, like and like for other businesses that I work with, I would start with like my business marketing plan prompt, for example.
Hmm.
Why? Because I want to give them like other avenues of like how they're already currently doing their marketing. And I believe in like if you're building a business from day one, you gotta create your exit plan.
Hmm.
Because like you want it to be a sellable business because I don't know.
It's just the
That's
way
just
you are,
how I work.
and there's nothing wrong with that. So tell us about some of these other businesses, the style of businesses. You don't need to name them, but you are helping others, not just
Yes.
the dog boarding business. So
Yep.
tell us about the breadth of what can be done.
So basically, I usually help them with like like their marketing tools. Initially, I would set them up with the review automation software,
Mhm.
and then this review automation is like a mix of like automation plus AI. So it would like request reviews automatically for them. It's gonna do follow ups and all that stuff. Now, when somebody
So reviews of
posts,
their services that they're offering, yeah.
yes,
And
exactly.
where would these reviews appear?
It's gonna show up on Google, Facebook, Yelp, wherever
Okay. Everywhere you
whenever
need it to
there's a
be.
public review site. It's something that our software can work with.
Oh, and so it's
And
your
then,
own software that you developed that does this for you, yeah?
yes, and
Fantastic.
then basically we integrate that with AI to the point where like when somebody reviews, um, it answers. So it's gonna
Fantastic.
look more personal and like that you actually care for your clients
Mhm.
without you spending time or them spending time actually responding, so they can just focus on their business. You can, and then on our side, we focus more on like getting more customers onboarded
Mhm.
and all that stuff. Um, and then it just works. And then we also set them up with like a rewards program. Essentially, it's more of like like punch cards, like when you go to like coffee shops, right?
Yeah, yeah. Get the little
So
stamp and say, "Hey, 10 coffees, you get the 11th free."
exactly. So we have the same tech, except it's not on paper. It's something that your customers can install on their Apple or Google Wallet. And then the owner can just send that they can just digitally stamp those punch cards, and then they earn rewards as soon as they reach like whatever you set for it. And then this one as well kind of has like automations involved. And then we would create prompts for businesses. For example, like because like our software has like push notifications,
Mhm.
like not text messages, not email, more of like push notifications. Um, And then if they don't know how to write their short and sweet promotions, we again go back to Chat GPT
You
and
can
then
help
just,
them.
yeah. So we have this business and marketing plan prompt, right? And it's 20-step process. Goes about everything, customer avatar, what they're feeling, seeing,
Mhm.
thinking. Like it's really like deep level. It's not like, oh yeah, your customer is gonna be like a 20 to 45-year-old female. You know, no, it goes to like, all right, you have two possible customer avatars. Customer avatar one, this is their name, their age,
Mhm.
age group, demographics, where they work, what are their problems, and then what kind of problems keeps them up at night. What do they
Okay.
think about the product?
So
Like
classic sales questions, but
exactly,
presented in a very easy to understand way. Yeah.
exactly. And then like there's stuff about how can you market this product,
Mhm.
how can you raise funds, how like everything you can possibly think of. I just keep adding that to the prompt, so it's essentially like this prompt still grows at this point. So if it's something that I think can be useful, we just add, and then something like that. But
So
yeah,
actually,
like
tell me, but sorry, tell me the how much technical knowledge do your clients need? I mean, do they need to be able to understand how to code HTML or
oh,
Python or
definitely
anything like?
not. No.
So,
um
how scale of 1 to 10, how much technical knowledge would you say they need?
I want to say if you can type, you should be fine,
So
and everybody
basically,
can type.
almost no technical, well, essentially
No,
no technical knowledge needed to take advantage of AI when you use the prompts in
exactly.
the smart way. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because like at the end of the day, what you're doing now, like instead of like because there's already like prompts available out there, right?
Hmm.
Now you're you're essentially shifting from you providing the instruction to you getting interviewed by the instruction somebody else already made for you, and then you're just answering, kind of like you're on your sales call, but it's so much faster because like the output is like there right away. So
Fantastic. So, RG, if there was one piece of advice you would want people to take away from the conversation that we've had today, what would it be?
honestly, for me, it's all about embracing the technology because a lot of people think, like AI is going to take away their jobs and all that stuff. Maybe, at one point, like maybe it might happen, but I feel like if you're getting ahead with the technology, you're positioning yourself to be a pioneer for the technology, and you can help shape the technology into something that's useful for your industry. So that
Fantastic.
would be my one piece of advice.
That's great advice. RG, where can people find you in this great piece of software that you have, and what exciting projects do you have on the horizon?
They can find me on enzonmedia.com, just a website, and then they can just hit like the contact form and all that stuff, and then you know we can go from there. Um, what exciting piece are we working on? So I think for us, like basically creating prompts like this, and then essentially we want to build kind of like a business incubator, not in the sense of like funding, but more of like mentorship
Yep.
and like teaching them how to like use various technologies and automations and AI, um, and like just so they can get ahead with the technology and capitalize on it.
Fantastic. Well, I hope everybody gets to see that in the not too distant future because it sounds like you're already doing some great work.
Thank
RG,
you.
thanks for a great conversation today. And I'm sure a lot of people will be looking you up after looking at this.
Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap on another awesome guest episode for the Evolvepreneur AI Advantage show. Just before you go, if you like this episode, we would be very grateful for a 5-star review. Please also consider recommending the show to a friend or two. Make sure you subscribe for future episodes at aiadvantage.show right now. Until next time, I'm Richard Wray, and if you're an entrepreneur, get the AI advantage today.